Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and welcome to another product review. This product review is going to be of Hataka's paint range. This is going to be quite a bit of a different sort of product review in the sense that normally we are using acrylic based paints, but this is a lacquer based paint by Hataka. Something interesting I wanted to do. I know someone on the forum mentioned them and wanted to ask what I think of them, so I thought, what the hell, let's go out and do a product review. So this is one of their sets they do where it's basically going off and doing kind of British Cold War, and we get all these different paints to go off and do all these kind of different Cold War British planes, right? So we've got a nice set just here of paints, and what we're going to do is going to have a look at how they work and stuff. So just to kind of let you know, in general, when it comes to acrylic paints, they are generally easier to sort of use, less problematic. You go into like enamels and lacquer based paints, then they get a little bit more tricky. The big thing that I'm just going to throw out there straight away, which you probably already know, is, you know, it's potency, right? This is kind of why a lot of us in scale modeling use acrylic based paints, because they're water based, they're not so harmful if you breathe them in. I know you should have face masks and extractor fans on, but when it comes to these kind of paints, you know, these lacquer based, you know, you really want to be on the ball, face masks on, extractor fans on, windows open, all that kind of stuff. I do recommend, I do use one of these. It's a M3 face mask. So I recommend these because we'll just get one of these out just to show you. I know you get these kind of like cheapy ones. If I could just get it. I don't really use these at all. I mean, you know, these face masks, they, you know, they do go over your face, but it doesn't make a proper seal. With these M3s, you know, we've got this kind of like rubber seal on there, and it does like proper make a seal, and you are breathing through actual filters, right? So a little product review there in itself. Good one to get, right? So that's sort of like the big thing, but let's take a look at these paints. So I'm going to be using their medium sea grey. I'm going to be using this as well as their dark green. I'm going to be using these just to do this little bit of a camo pattern here and just see how it looks. So starting off with our first colour, I'm not going to do anything fancy like pre-shading and stuff. What we're going to do, actually, I've read that they work well, and I have tested it. It does work well with the Mr. Colour self-leveling thinner, and it really does work well with this. So if you're going to get a thinners, I do recommend these. So just in our airbrush, we're going to do about a 50-50 mix. All right, maybe a bit too much in there. I'll just blow it out. You can always use a pipette if you wanted to. All right, again, a bit of this paint. Give it a good shake. By the way, as you can hear, it does sound like they have got a little ball bearing in there, so it keeps it, which is a nice added touch. It just kind of mixes all the paint up for you as I'm shaking it. Then we're going to pour, as I say, about a 50-50 mix, followed by getting out our usual paintbrush, and we're going to mix it up. And we got no sort of nastiness going on there, no sort of like snotty nose kind of paint, because like you got the wrong thinners. You know, it does look like that is mixing rather well. Just a little test just to see how it's coming out. Then I've got our little test piece just here, which I've already had a bit of a play and a prime of it. All right, and what we're going to do is just going to spray on here, and I'm just going to spray a nice light misty coat just to get started with. Right, I'm just cutting to air as well at the same time, right? And it does seem to be drying fairly quickly. I mean, I've not got extractor fans on or face masks on or anything like that, just so I can actually talk to you. But trust me, it is getting a little bit potent in here, so definitely hence getting out all that kind of stuff. So just going to touch it, and do you know what, it does feel a little bit, you know, slightly tacky still, right? But I want to put this through its paces, so I'm going to put on a normal light coat now. just to give it some coverage, just like so. Right, and it does seem to be, you know, the same rules apply. Put that misty coat on and then just put nice light coats, let it dry, light coat, let it dry, build up the coverage until you got good coverage. And it does seem to be drying, shall we say, as quick as acrylics, but I have noticed, although it feels dry, if I actually now sort of, you know, go off and sort of maybe press my thumb down, I can actually feel that sticking. I mean, I don't know, there you go, you could almost see that hanging off my thumb there. It feels dry, but you press down and it does feel sticky. And I don't know if you can sort of see, but you can see my thumbprint just in there. That's one of the things about lacquer based paints, is you gotta be on the ball with the drying time. I'm kind of looking at them as the same as the aqua stuff by the Mr. Hobby Colour. I know they say they're water based and it's supposed to be acrylic based and everything, but I've always thought that these are like a lacquer based paint. And the problems I've had with these in the past is if you don't get your drying times right, i.e. you don't let your paint dry, what's going to happen is you're going to have this cracking effect. Cracking is basically the bottom layer isn't dry. You spray a second coat on top, the second coat dries, cures, go rock hard, while your bottom layer is still a little bit wet. Maybe it just needs a bit more time to cure, but because the top's cured, the bottom isn't, the bottom will move a bit, and because it moves, it then cracks the second layer, and that's the problems that you can have with these kind of paints. I'm not saying with these ones, because I haven't used them enough to actually kind of say, hey, yes, it is gonna sort of potentially crack if you don't watch your drying times. I'm just going off experience from other types of paints that seem similar. You may have problems with cracking, but you're gonna have to sort of watch your drying time, because as I say, I've just pressed that down. I could probably press it again, you know, and okay, it's a little bit less tacky, but it, you know, just have a little bit of tackiness to it, so be careful with that. I'm just going to give this another coat just to give it a bit more coverage, and it is looking good. Now, advantage for these lacquer based paints, I'm just going to show you the first two, which is when I look at this, I don't know how well you can pick it up on camera, but lacquer based paints do seem to go down smoother and nicer, and looking at this particular paint, it has got that really sort of a nice smooth sort of finish. You know, it does feel so smooth, not really rough. It looks like a really nice professional finish, and that is kind of the advantage of lacquer based paints. They have that characteristic to look really nice and smooth and goes down really lovely. Second little advantage, which I'm basically going to show you now, is actually cleaning your color cup, right? Because it's a lacquer based paint, we're going to basically clean it with the Mr. Colour self-leveling thinners here. All right, so we just pour some of this in, and what we'll find is this will absolutely clean your airbrush beautifully. I know in the past when I've had like stubborn paint sort of in my color cup, I'll actually get out the self-leveling thinners to like clean out some of the more stubborner stuff. But because we're using these lacquer based paints by Hataka, we're going to be cleaning our airbrush with the self-leveling thinners every time, and it really does clean them up really nice. I mean, you could almost probably just put one lot of self-leveling thinners in there, and it just cleans it up so nice. So I mean, I'm actually seeing, I mean, I've got bits coming out here which is like probably dried up paint from the acrylics I've been using. So it really does clean your airbrush really nicely. So now that we've got that down, let's sort of do a quick bit of closing work. I'm just going to come in with wherever that green has disappeared to. Just found it here. We have our dark green just there. Also give it a good shake. We're going to also sort of do about a 50-50 mix, and we'll see how it goes, right, which should be better. Right, So hopefully you're already seeing from this video so far, you know what, there's ups and downs to these paints, right? So it's kind of almost like it could be like a personal preference for you. Alright, so I'm just giving that a quick mix. Alright, and then we're going to just come in sort of close. I'm just going to leave my air pressure up high just because I want to sort of see how it comes out, you know, sort of like, you know, if we brought down the air pressure it would be better, but we can sort of put this paint through its paces by keeping the air pressure up high. And what we're going to do, let's just bring you in a bit. Right, and what we're going to do is just get our biting point, and let's just do a bit of a camo pattern. Yeah, nothing fancy. We're just doing a bit of a test. And then we'll just fill this in. I'm trying to keep it light at first. Let that one dry. So I'm just going to build these up now. And build up the paint until we've got some good coverage. Well then, got the good coverage going on just there. As you can see, it's looking a bit wet. What I want to do is throw another little test at this. I'm just going to take our dark green here and I'm going to pour it neat into our colour cup, just so as we can just see how it sort of sprays. What I'll also note to you is I haven't cleaned my needle end yet for this airbrush, because I just wanted to sort of show you, you know, another advantage to this. So I'm just going to try it neat, maybe just blast a bit out. Seems to be coming out okay. Let's do some see, this is one of the problems, and that is if we sort of bring you in, you'll probably sort of start to notice things like little bits of hair and debris, right? You know, that's kind of well sort of stuck in there. That is one of the problems, you know. You've got to watch your drying times, because it's a little bit sort of tacky, you know. It can sort of pick up those bits of debris, which with acrylic based paints, you know, let's face it, they kind of do dry quick enough that, you know, any debris that falls on there, you know, it's potentially going to be falling on dry paint, so it's okay. But not so with this. So we're just going to take our neat paint just here, and we're going to spray this on. We're just going to see how it sprays. So yeah, we can get some nice fine lines. It is a bit speckly, so not really ideal, but you know what, it is spraying still. It is giving us good coverage, but a bit speckly, right? But yeah, not too bad. You know what, I guess you could get away with spraying it neat, but I think it's a bit like Vallejo. You only want to be spraying it neat on, say, I don't know, you've got a little piece and it's just one colour, and it's just like, okay, a quick bit of a spray of one piece. It just saves a bit of time with thinning and all that kind of stuff. You know, I like doing that with Vallejo, and it looks like you can sort of do the same with this, but nothing big. You do still need to thin it down. So I'm just going to sort of maybe just touch this after a bit of spraying. You know, that has had some time to dry, and yeah, do you know what? I mean, it's not feeling tacky, but you know what? I have sort of pressed on there, and you can see that thumbprint. You can see how it's sort of like squidged the paint a little bit. So yeah, it does take a bit of drying time. All in all, do you know what? I think they're a great set of paints. It is just down to personal sort of preference. I know we got advantages with acrylics, but we have advantages with lacquers, and there are disadvantages to both. So really, these paints, I think they're great, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't mind, you know, watching your drying times, you know, you've got to be careful you don't whack everything on, because you could have potential cracking, as well as, you know what, it's one of these things you might want to get a plastic tub that once you've done your spraying, you put a plastic tub on top, because you don't want all this debris sort of maybe falling on your model and it sticks to it. You know, there is that side of it, there is the whole potency side of it, but you know what, if you've got the right equipment, it isn't actually a big deal, the potency side of it. But you do have the advantage of, you know what, it does clean out your colour cup a lot easier. It does go down so nicely, it feels so nicely, and you do sort of get a better, more professional sort of finish. It is kind of noticeable. You can get that kind of finish with acrylics, but you got to have, you know, you've got to probably been spraying for a while and a nice bit of experience. But you know, you can spray lacquers down really sort of easily if you ask me. But apart from that, I think they're great. They look like they've got a good set of color range. But if you're not so keen on their lacquer based paints, you know what, they do exactly the same paints, but they do them in acrylic form as well. So you have got the best of both worlds from this manufacturer if you want to go down either route. But yeah, I definitely think it's a big thumbs up. And you know what, I am feeling a little bit tempted to actually do one of our step-by-steps maybe, and using these lacquer based paints, because it would be nice to see, you know, how, you know, really give these paints a really good run for their money by seeing how the handle, putting gloss coats on, pre-shading, bleaching, you know, really sort of going for it and seeing how it ends up in the end. So yeah, hopefully you have enjoyed this nice product review of Hataka's lacquer based paints. But until next time, my name is Bobby Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I'll catch you later.